Buying in the grocery store. So this is something that I had only heard. Again, I'm a minor, so I don't really do the grocery shopping. But I heard people are like, healthy food's super expensive. Healthy food is super expensive. Healthy food is really expensive. And I found that like it wasn't that much more expensive. Like I thought way bigger than what it actually was, or at least what I experienced at Kroger. And as you heard in the list that I read off, what I was eating was not very extensive, but buying tofu and buying the sugar-free cereals, like they may have been like $1 more like per unit rate, but because I wanted this, it became a lot more worth it. And so honestly, if you want to eat healthy, assuming that you are in a middle class tax bracket, like I am pli- very privileged and live in a nice family. Both my parents work and all that stuff like that. So I can say this, that if you're like middle class, like healthy food is not that expensive. I think we lie to ourselves and we allow this to become like allow this to almost be a scapegoat for us not making choices that we want to make. We already don't want to make. But if you really want to make those choices, like it's not that big of a jump. So I learned that like healthy food isn't that much more expensive. Now it's more expensive than McDonald's, and if that's what you're eating every day, then yeah, like it's gonna be like, oh my god, I have to pay $5 for a box of cereal. Like, what are you talking about? But it wasn't that big of a jump from what my family was already eating. Um, and to say that, like, I thought this was gonna be super easy because like my family doesn't eat sweets every day. Like, we don't just put sugar in everything. Like, we don't put sugar on our grits or and stuff like that. But again, those spices and just like eating out anywhere, it definitely added up. It definitely added up. Up next was health and greenwashing. So this is a term where like companies try to say that they're doing better for the environment by like our bottles are 100% recyclable, but they're still plastic. And they just slap green packaging and trees and forests and nice animals on it and call themselves better for the environment. And I found a similar marketing strategy being done with food, things saying that like it's keto or it's non-GMO and all these other things, but they would still have copious and I mean high amounts of sugar in them and other things that weren't so good for you. So it really opened my eyes to like how you really have to look past the marketing of the packaging, marketing on commercials, and you got to read, you got to do research, and you got to invest a little time into knowing what you're consuming. You got to do a little bit. You got a little bit. And sometimes you have to do a lot. I'll get to that on my hardships. So yeah. Talked about that. This is a big one to my ladies. My Aunt Flo, who is usually very mean to me and we really do not get along. Like I don't like when she comes and visits me. I don't like her staying over. I'm not a fan. And I know you're supposed to love your family, love your neighbor as you love yourself, but I don't love her. So, but she was a lot, and I mean a lot more bearable and a lot nicer to be around when I did no sugar for a month. I didn't even notice her presence. Like, she could have been staying in the guest room for all I knew. Like, it was really, really easy. So if you struggle with family relations and you really aren't a fan of Aunt Flo, like try maybe not doing sugar for the week before she comes over. Um, and it really just helps. It helps a lot. I That's the biggest thing. Instead of taking pills and stuff like that to deal, going sugar free for a little bit, it's so much easier. And that's something that I really realized when I was back on sugar. I was like, man, I thought we were getting along. But yeah, it it's simple. It's a nice, pleasant visit. when you do no sugar. And lastly, stable energy levels. Now, this is something that I saw in a lot of other videos. They were talking about like how their energy levels were just 10 times better and they went on marathons and blah, 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 blah. Again, my activity did increase because that's not something that I focused on. I focused on not doing sugar, and dieting does not cure everything. But my energy levels relatively stayed the same. If I was tired at the beginning of the day, I was kind of that same type of tired throughout the entire day. Nothing spiked, but nothing dropped either. And that's another thing, because before this, I could only take my coffee with high creamer and a lot of sugar. So I couldn't have coffee. And that's probably plays into a lot that I abstain from coffee, because I'm a wimp and your girl does not drink black bean water. Some bean waters I can do. Like at this really cute cafe in Smyrna, I can do that. Shout out to Carpe Cafe. Hashtag not sponsored. But yeah, absolutely not. Energy levels were just real stable. I did drink tea, and I drank this all natural tea, nothing added to it. I also looked at the ingredients. It was blueberry tea from like this fancy tea shop. And I didn't read the label that said high in caffeine. And so that spiked me, and I was jittery, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, am I a crackhead? I know I've never touched crack, but am I a crackhead?" So that was the only thing that was a little different, but most of all, when I wasn't consuming caffeinated drinks, and especially not coffee and like Starbucks and stuff because of the sugar, my energy levels were super, super stable. So yeah, that's all that I pretty much learned. This segment is specifically about the hardships I faced. One being just community pressure of eating things that are available. Again, I'm a minor, I don't cook, and my family wasn't on the same diet as me. So like when they had chocolate cake, I was like, I really want some. I had 2 birthdays in the month of January, so that was a lot of willpower. And then like when people brought things to school and stuff like that, it was just having the willpower and the constitution to say, no, this is what I really want to do. And being able to say no in a society where like food is a sense of community and sharing. And so sometimes I felt bad about saying no to those things, not necessarily because like, yeah, it's a social cultural construct, and it's a lot to push back against, but because I wanted it, I did it, and it was only for a month. And then after that, I got to have all of the celebrations that I wanted to have. Another thing that was really hard was researching sugar substitutes. There was this one particular one called maltodextrin, which was in potato chips and a lot of other things. I had done initial research on it, and it was like, oh, it's just gonna thicken up your food, no worries. And then once I did more research on it, I was like, oh, it's a sugar substitute, isn't it? So there was a couple stumbles, and just the fact that it takes so much personal accountability to make this happen, which was kind of discouraging, because it's like, why does sugar substitutes and sugar have to be in literally everything? Like, I don't think potato chips need it. And the potato chips that didn't have it were really good. So that was like a little bit of a Debbie Downer. But once I did the research, things got easier. There were some questions about like this thing I think is called xanthan gum, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, and it's basically made from bacteria consuming sugar. And so I was like, okay, do I include this? Do I not? I made the decision to include it because my point was being able to not include added sugar and not necessarily demonize sugar itself, but have the constitution to say no to the FDA and the man and stuff like that. So yeah, those are all my hardships. And now, okay, so our sponsor today is Oasis Eye Care. This video focuses a lot about taking care of yourself and taking care of your health and having that accountability. And a part of that is getting yearly eye checkups. So you can go to Oasis Eye Care at this address, and their website should be on the screen now. All right, thank you. Thanks. Again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I haven't been sugar-free for about 2 months. And right after, I was like, man, I miss it. I'm not going to stop. And the biggest thing I learned is that being able to focus on yourself and take care of yourself, that's a lot of mental energy. And it takes work and it takes time and it takes care. And those are things that you have to pursue. And so I would like to be in this headspace to pursue that again. And I think it was a really wonderful time. And so I would love to pursue it again. Maybe I'll do a part two where I do no sugar again, or maybe for even longer, no sugar for 2 months or something like that. I don't know. But it's worth trying. You should do it. Especially if you live in America, you should do it. It's really worth it.